Judo.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, movie trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official show, the movie trivia Schmoedown, now officially debuting for the first time on the SEN Network, the Schmoedown Entertainment Network. My name is Brad Gilmore, but you might know me by another name. You might know me as The Boat. Hashtag best of all time, hashtag Brad Speaks True, hashtag boat life, hashtag I'm on a boat. And if this is the first time that you're ever tuning into the Schmoedown Rundown because you're a new subscriber of the SEN Network or you're watching SEN Live, we thank you for tuning in for the very first time. On this show, we talk about the movie trivia Schmoedown. We break it down. We talk about all the matches, the storylines, the characters, where we think they're going to go, the champions, and the all-important statistics. And here to talk about those statistics is the stat man himself. You might know him as Numbers. You might know him as Jenga. You might know him as Stats. His name, though, is Frank Janisch. Frank, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. It's great to be here on the SEN. I'm not going to say network after SEN because that's like saying the Schmoedown Entertainment Network, which I think is funny. But you should keep on saying it. You should definitely keep
I don't care.
Yeah. But,
it's just a little stupid, but that's right up my alley.
Well, it's very true. And that's why I like doing the show with you, because you make me look smart.
Yeah. It's a tough task, too.
Hey, but I believe in you. That's the
I appreciate
key.
it. I appreciate it. But yeah, man, we're here, and like I said, if y'all don't know about the big changes that have happened to this channel, it was the Movie Trivia Schmoedown channel, which we were on, and then prior to that, we were on the Collider podcast feed or the podcast channel, right?
Yeah, we were on that channel, which then changed over to Collider Live. We've been all over.
And then we were on the Schmoes No feed. And then we were
Yeah.
also on
I forget.
the SK Plus feed.
SK
Is that
Plus,
the other one?
yeah, that's right. There was a SK Plus, but I think that
SK Plus, Collider, Schmoes No, Schmoedown, SEN. But no matter how or where you tuned into this show, where you started following the boat and the tank, Frank Janisch, we definitely appreciate you for joining us today. And like I said, we're talking all things movie trivia Schmoedown. And this channel, once again, is funded by the viewers. It's funded by the people watching this show right now, watching SEN Live. And super chats definitely help. So if you want to donate to the cause, make sure you hit the super chat button. And we will definitely have you involved in our show. If you have a question for Frank and I, always hit us up on Twitter, at Brad Gilmore or at FrankieJ29. Frank, we are in the season, though. The season of perpetual hope, as Kevin McAllister's mother once said in Home Alone. And what I'm excited about, Frank, is the Schmoedown Spectacular, which is right around the corner. We're about less than a month away from the Schmoedown Spectacular. 5 matches, including the finals for the singles tournament, the Ultimate Schmoedown Tournament, and then 4 championship matches. One person will definitely have to play twice. Maybe 2 people will have to play twice. We'll talk about that when we talk about the teams tournament. But Frank, how are you feeling? We're almost there for the Schmoedown Spectacular.
Yeah, I'm excited. We know majority of the matchups, right? Well, I guess like half, well, a little more than half, I guess. You could say Star Wars, we know Inner Geekdom, and we kind of know the singles, and we're going to wait to see what happens with teams. But, the way this week started off with the tournaments, it's a crazy start, that's for sure, and which I think is going to eventually lead to a crazy team title match at Spectacular.
Yeah, the team tournament, which we're going to talk about today, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag just slightly. Spoiler. I think the team tournament is my favorite thing about the movie trivia Schmoedown. I really do. I love the team tournament.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I was watching. I'm like, because it's been a minute since we saw like kind of your run of the mill team match. Obviously, we had team title match with Founding Fathers of Corruption, and that's in a live setting, and that's all the pomp and circumstance around that is huge and it's fun. But we haven't really seen a real kind of match in the studio. Yeah, we had Late to the Party and Wild Berries, but I'm talking about like just, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but when I saw the tournament matches this week, I was like, man, you know what? I just love the dynamic between 4 people walking in, sitting down at the table, the banter, the theatrics, Maybe sometimes there's some crap talking going on.
A little bit.
It's just a lot. It's a little bit more fun than all the other divisions, personally for me. And I just think just because there's a lot more going on there, and it kind of just, I don't know about it. The energy is just different for a team match.
Oh, yeah, and I think that because it's the same reason I have always really favored tag team wrestling is because there's so many more possibilities that could happen. You could have somebody who's on fire in your team and somebody who's dragging ass. You could have 2 people who are on fire. You could have 4 people who don't even know what the hell they're doing. I mean, I don't know. There's just so many dynamics at play when you get into the team title match or the team matches in general, which is why I love them. And before we break down the 3, not 1, not 2, Frank Janisch, 3 team matches that we saw this week and see if our predictions came true from last week, I want to talk about the spectacular, but a different aspect of it. The Schmoedown kind of almost Schmoecon that's going on there. It's really cool opportunity for fans of this show or fans of the Schmoedown proper to come out, or even fans of the personalities of people who compete in the Schmoedown, to come out prior to the biggest night of the year for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, the Spectacular, and come out and get to meet some of the people, meet and greet, ask questions, see the championships, which are phenomenally gorgeous.
Yeah, those belts are amazing.
They're championships, Janisch. They're championships. They're not belts. It's not a belt. It's a championship.
Okay.
How many people wear them around their waist
I've seen
in the Schmoedown? Who wears it around their waist?
Well, back in the not these belts, championships. Sorry,
championships. Yeah, because those
These
other ones
no.
they don't count.
They don't count. Well, okay, fine.
They don't count.
Okay, all right.
They
I'm not
don't
gonna
count.
I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not gonna get into it.
You know, like whenever you get out of high school and you have your first relationship,
Is it
like,
not
outside-
a championship belt? Like, can we just say that? No,
It's a championship title. But you know when you get out of like your first relationship, like outside of high school, like you're in college, you meet a girl, and you're like, oh wow, like this is a real relationship, right?
Right.
In high school, we were just playing house. This is a real relationship. That's how it is with the championships. Like when these championships came in, it's like, this is how they're supposed to look. Those other ones, those are just props. Those are props.
Okay.
These are championships. So there's
no
there's
doubt
a slight
about
difference.
it. These are
Yes.
great looking championships
That's right.
belts.
That's right. They're championship titles. It doesn't matter to them. But you can see them in person, and I think that this is a really cool opportunity for the fans. So I just wanted to definitely give a shout-out to the Schmoecon or the Spectacular Expo, whatever it's called.
Fan Expo, I think.
Fan Expo,
yeah,
there we
yeah.
go. I like Schmoecon more.
Yeah, Schmoecon.
And speaking of Schmo stuff, what is your true and honest opinion? And I don't want you to pull any punches here. I want to know your true and honest opinion regarding something on this network. I want to know your true and honest opinion about the Schmobot. How do we feel about the Schmobot?
The Schmobot, I love it and I hate it, but I mostly love it. As long as
love it.
I mostly love it because people who donate are getting very clever with it, and I appreciate the cleverness with it. I think one of the first ones was like the sprinkler one, which I thought was hilarious.
That one was hilarious.
That one was great. When you do that kind of stuff, I like it. However, I do like the fact that they turn it on and off throughout the show. That makes sense. But I did see another suggestion. I think this was in there. Like you could leave it on for the whole show, but you can raise the tier level. During certain parts of the show. So like if there's a part of the show where you're like, look, you want to get them in, so it's the $20. But if it's outside of that, it should be like someone said, like make it $100 or $200, so that if they really want to interrupt the show and kind of disrupt the flow, then it better be well worth it. And I'm for that because I think no harm, no foul. If you don't want anyone to kind of interrupt at a certain part of the show, then you just make it $100. $2. Hey, it's BB-8. So
sounded like the Schmobot to me.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Frank Janisch,
BB-8.
you smell like caca.
See, like that was our Schmobot right there. Look at that. Look at that.
We
So
need an upgrade.
thank you for your donations.
Clearly.
Thank you for your donations.
But yeah, I love the Schmoedown. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. But you gotta be clever. That's why I don't know if I would ever donate because I couldn't be clever
sprinkler was
enough.
funny.
The sprinkler
was funny. I was trying to think of something fun, and I couldn't really because I'm not very clever. But I think that I have a love-hate relationship with the Schmoebot, so I just want to throw that out there again, Frank Janisch. Okay, let's talk about, though, the team tournament. So last week we made our initial predictions.
Yeah.
And I think that this week we should do a little bit of bracketology, if you would like. Should we start off with the bracket, or should we end with the bracket? What do you think?
Let's start off with the bracket because we're going to
Start off with the bracket.
So, yeah.
So I'm looking at the bracket right here, and I just tore my bracket that I printed out, but it's all good. I'm looking at the bracket here. So we correctly predicted the Odd Couple Time Machine and Who's the Boss would advance.
Right.
And I think that we weren't really going off on a limb there. We're going to break those matches down, but let's look ahead a little bit for the Odd Couple first, because their win against Only Stupid Answers was about as dominant as we've ever seen in the teams. Has there ever been a more dominant win than that?
It was an absolute devastation. Someone just, like, the Odd Couple just dropped a nuke. 2 nukes on Only Stupid Answers. It was nothing that's never happened in the Schmoedown. And you probably won't ever see that happen again.
So, did you play Little League?
I did.
Okay. And in I don't know how they did it in Chicago, but this is how they did it in Texas. In Little League, if after the 3rd inning,
Yeah.
the team was up by like 5 or more runs, the opposing team, they mercy ruled it.
Slaughter.
And
yeah.
yeah, we were out. The other team automatically lost.
Right.
It's just, hey, man, this is a slaughter. It's going to get worse. It's not getting any better.
Right.
Your team sucks.
Just call it.
Your hand-eye coordination, even at 11 years old, is a little off. You need to go reconsider what you're doing with your life. Maybe crack open a book. Baseball isn't for you. That's what they would do with the mercy rule. And to me, this was the version of the Little League mercy rule in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. I mean, it was a bloodbath.
This was. Wait, are we talking about the brackets or are we talking about the
Yeah,
matches?
no, we're going to talk about the matches after we talk about the brackets.
Okay.
So we're going to start with them first. So go ahead.
Yeah. This match. Normally, when there's like a knockout, the losing player who gets knocked out, maybe in singles gets like to question number 2 or 3, and then they're knocked out. Mathematically, they're eliminated, right? Same thing for teams. Usually, they'll get to like question 4 or 5. They won't normally hit this. They won't normally get to the 6-pointer. Sometimes they do. And then that's it. They're mathematically eliminated. It has never happened where the opposing team, the team that's getting knocked out, only answers questions in the first round, because answering questions in the second round, it just didn't matter. Like, it was already over after the Odd Couple just swept the second round, 6 for 6, the full 12 points, after Snyder had a perfect first round, and Draco only missed 1. They missed 1 question. They missed 1 question between both of them. That was Draco's early miss. And you have to couple that great performance with a bad performance. 10 points, 5 points, 5 points for the Odd Couple. I'm sorry, the Only Stupid Answers. That was just, and it was like these 5 points. It didn't seem like it was a really bad showing, because Sam would get one right, but then DJ would get one wrong, but then DJ would get the next one right, and then Sam would get one wrong. So they're kind of like switching off. So like someone was kind of always answering a question, and then you get to the end of the round, you're like, oh, they only answered 5, dang. And then Odd Couple goes, sweeps the second round, and then it's like, well, that's it, that's the game. You lost. Thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up. You only answered 5 questions, which now that off the top of my head, it's probably the fewest amount of questions ever answered correctly in a team match. I can't. Yeah, this is. It was stunning.
It's got to be close to singles match too, right? Like 5 questions only.
Yeah, I think maybe like the record for that is probably like 3. Well, it depends what. I mean, in this era of the 8-question first round, probably like 3 or 4 might be it, but. I don't know, man. I have to go back and look at that one. I didn't have time to look at that one, but
it's rough. It was rough
bad,
to
man.
watch.
Wow.
It was rough to watch.
Yeah.
And again, I can't reiterate this enough. And I think that Mark Andreyko is a phenomenal player. But in teams, there is still no one better than Jeff Snyder. There is no one who's ever played in teams who's any better than this man. I mean, he even gave you a shout out to let the set the record straight, Janisch.
So he talked to me about this one a while ago too, and I kind of forgot about it. And then when he brought it, when the whole shout out in the match. I was like, why did he? And then I had to.
It wasn't a shout out. It was a name check. It was a difference.
Yeah. Well. So
he wasn't like props to Frankie J.
No. He was like, hey, get
your act together, brother.
Yeah. And so the whole, because he had asked me, or he had mentioned somewhere, maybe in a match too, I don't know, about him getting an answer right in a team match in a specific category, whatever. On question 2, he got it right, but everyone else got it wrong, and he felt like his numbers had to be up through the roof compared to everybody else in the league. And I never went and looked at those numbers. Because I never thought of it as a stat to check until he brought it to my attention, and even then I kind of forgot about it. But when he brought it up in this match, I was like, all right, I got to do it now. Now that I have some time, let me go back and look at all the matches from 2017 to his match. And I actually posted it in the Facebook group. And did I post it on? I think I posted it on Twitter too as well. Schmoedown Stats Twitter handle, SD Rundown Stats. And for the lone answers, the players with the most lone answers in the team's division, Jeff Snyder was actually tied with Rachel until he got this one right. So he has 10 lone answers. He's gotten 10 questions correct, in which everybody else, all 3, have gotten wrong. So he's done that 10 times. That leads the division. In second place is the now retired Rachel Cushing with 9, and then in third place is the surging Ben Bateman with 6 occurrences. So, and then you have Mark Riley. Actually, he's done it 5 times, as well as Roka's done it 5 times. So, some interesting numbers there, and it just shows, like you were talking about, Brad, that Snyder is one of, if not the most accomplished, revered team player in the history of the division.
So there's a the UFC just had this event last weekend called UFC 244. It was in Madison Square Garden. The main event was to declare the first and only ever BMF champion in UFC. So there was a guy named Jorge Masvidal, a guy named Nate Diaz, and they fought for this BMF championship belt. And on the back of the championship, it says 1 of 1, right?
Okay.
And Jeff Snyder, in my opinion, is the BMF of the movie Trivia Schmoedown. He is 1 of 1. I don't think that there has been a more versatile player and a more adaptable player, especially in the team's division, than Jeff Snyder. He stands, honestly, on a mountain all to himself in this category. In the team's division, I know that you can say, well, hey, Shirewolves won it twice. They did. And they're definitely in conversation as best team of all time.
Yeah.
There's not a doubt in my mind. Founding Fathers. Hey, Roka did it twice now with 2 different teams. Absolutely. That's true. But John Roka with top 10 didn't have the run that the Patriots did with the championships. No one has had the run that the Patriots did with the championships. So that is why Jeff Snyder has an island all to himself, and he is the BMF of the movie Trivia Schmoedown team's division. And if the odd couple continues to play this way, brother, what a hard out that's going to be.
Yeah, you know what? I also put out another stat about Jeff a week or 2 ago about how he's won a team title match every single year since he's been in the league. 2016, he defeated top 10 at Spectacular. In 2017 was the undefeated, the 5-0 undefeated season where they defended, so he won a match there, right? 2018, he ended up winning it one last time against defending it against top 10 before ultimately losing it to Above the Line in back-to-back matches in a 5-rounder and an Ironman match. And then this year, he won it with Mark Andreyko against the Shirewolves, even though he failed to defend. But 2016, 2017, 2018, and this year, he has won a team title match. I'm not talking about defending or reclaiming whatever. He's won a 5-round match in the team's division once every year, which is, I never really dawned on me until recently when I was like, wait a minute, he's won a team title match. He's been a team champion every single year since he's been in the league, and that's it just goes under the radar because he's no longer part of the Patriots. They don't have as high a profile. Obviously, the Odd Couple isn't as brash, or there's no completely different team than the Patriots and how they rolled for the couple of years they were on top. Odd Couple, very good, a little inconsistent here and there, but ultimately they won the team title off of one of the greatest teams of all time, the Shirewolves, who were undefeated at that point. He slayed that dragon along with Mark Andreyko. I mean, the guy has just built up team accomplishments on top of each other since 2016, and he's not even stopping here because I just pointed out this one little weird kind of stat that he lays claim to, even though it's just by one tick over Rachel Cushing, who I think is one of the top 3 best teammate players of all time, along with
No disagreement.
McWeeny, Mark Riley, and Clark Wolf. I think those guys are all the best team players we've ever seen in the game, but Snyder stands above them all.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this, though. Now Odd Couple moves into the quarterfinals of the tournament, and they're going to either be playing the Movie Guys or Shazam.
Right.
I really like Paul Preston. I really like the Movie Guys. I just think that Bibiani and Brendan Meyer, a.k.a. the fine, young Tenderoni, I think that they've been the team to beat this year. I think that they are really, really, really good. And if we see Shazam and Odd Couple in the quarterfinals, I really don't know who to pick there. I really don't know. Because you're talking about former team champions. You're talking about the people who took down the Shirewolves. You're talking about Jeff Snyder, the greatest team player of all time. And then you're going up against Shazam, who Bibiani, the encyclopedia for all things movie trivia. Brendan Meyer, who's had a hell of a year. And, I mean, really is in the running for Rookie of the Year. I don't know if he'll win the championship, but he's definitely in the running. I don't know who you pick out of that. If Shazam gets past Movie Guys, which is how my bracket plays out. Because I'm picking Shazam over the Movie Guys.
I have Shazam over the Movie Guys as well. I just think the lack of experience with Adam Witt, Paul Preston's partner, is going to have some sort of effect. Paul Preston, he's had a hell of a run in singles, so I expect a good performance out of Paul Preston in that match. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of Adam Witt, just because we've only seen him in one match, and it wasn't that great, so I hope that doesn't repeat again. I would like to see a good match. Obviously, I don't want to see... It's fun to see these knockouts and these just, drubbings every once in a while, but I don't need them for all first-round matches. I want some close ones, and we got one this week as well, but 2 out of 3 is... I don't think, first of all, I don't think that's going to continue to happen, because that's just really, really tough. The team's division is just stacked all the way around. Yeah. But with that said, I do have Shazam winning against the Movie Guys, and I do have Shazam over the Odd Couple because, like you said, Brad, they've been the team to beat. And when you couple together what Bibiani and Brendan Meyer have done separately, you look at what they did in Free For All. You look at Bibbs' run, obviously, in the team in the singles tournament, and Brandon Meyer's run in the singles tournament. I mean, he had a rough ending with that match against Bateman, but he's played really, really well. He's shown that he belongs, that he can put up quite a fight. So I think when you put all that together, Andreyko hasn't played much in singles. He's only played one match, actually, this year. Snyder had a couple matches, so they're mostly been dabbling in teams, and that's been few and far between up until this point. So I don't know how much, which is to say Shazam's in a groove. Those guys individually and then collectively put them together. Mm-hmm. They're in a groove already going up against, albeit a great performance from the Odd Couple, but, you got to sustain that kind of thing. And I think Shazam and Odd Couple is going to be a doozy, but I think Shazam's going to squeak it out because I just think the momentum that those two guys have is going to propel them to a win.
Yeah, no, I agree. And when I look at Shazam, too, though, I think about Brendan Meyer, the fine young Tenderoni. I think about the year that he's had, and I think about his ability and his ceiling, right?
Sure.
And before we were rolling, and I'm thinking about, okay, if Odd Couple and Shazam, if this is the matchup, I'm thinking, where does Brendan Meyer fit into this scenario? Because he's in there with some killers.
Yeah.
And before we rolled on this, we were talking a lot about a myriad of topics, but one of them was Kanye West's music. Mm-hmm. And do you remember the song off of Graduation called Big Brother, where Kanye said, my big brother was Big's brother, used to be Dame and Big's brother, talking about Jay-Z, right? And when I'm thinking about Dame Dash, heavy hitter, right? Thinking about Biggie Smalls, another name check, super heavy hitter from a lyrical standpoint, obviously from a music standpoint. And then Jay-Z kind of encapsulates them all. Then he had Kanye. Those are 3 killers that Kanye name dropped. 3 killers. And then he had Kanye, though, saying, hey, I'm here, though. I'm in the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, don't think I'm not in the conversation. I think that Brendan Meyer, I don't know how well he'll like this comparison, is Kanye West.
Well,
Brendan Meyer is Kanye West.
within the vacuum of
man.
that song, yes.
In the vacuum of the song.
Yeah.
I'm not saying...
Right.
Well, I don't know. Brendan Meyer does
right.
have a very sizable ego. I don't know if you ever talked to the guy.
Oh my gosh.
Guy really thinks highly of himself.
Don't shut
I mean,
up. No.
all the way. Just, we get it.
Right,
We get it. You're good. Okay? But I do think in the vacuum of the song that he is the Kanye West in this scenario, meaning he could be the breakout star here.
Yeah.
Brendan Meyer could be the breakout star between the 4 of those guys.
I mean, he's definitely surrounded by heavy hitters, like you just said. I mean, Andreyko and Bibiani have had legendary matches together and separate.
Mm-hmm.
And Snyder, we just said, best team player of all time. And here comes Brendan Meyer, a rookie, and now he's getting thrown into something that is it's like, you know, hobbits entering war in Middle Earth. It's like, what am I even doing here? I'm nowhere near as big as these guys. And
he's
yet he's in the middle of it.
And then, you know, the rest of them are tree people. What are the tree people
Ents.
called?
Ents.
What are they called?
Ents. E-N-T. Ents.
Ents?
Yeah.
Isn't that ears, nose, and throat?
In Earth, but we're talking about Middle Earth.
They didn't have ENTs back then?
Well,
What happened if you had a sinus infection? What would they do?
They would just have some pipe weed.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the second match. Let's talk about who's the boss in Inky and the Brain.
Yeah.
And when I say that it was very remnant of Odd Couple and Only Stupid Answers in a lot of ways, meaning second round knockout.
Yeah.
Wasn't as dominant of a knockout, but can you explain something to me?
Sure.
Why did it take so long for them to call it a knockout? I don't understand.
So
Because
it's all about the math, Brad.
Well, okay, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
I'm obviously a liberal arts major. 27-13 was the final score, and they waited until
27-11. I think I had.
27-11. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, 27-11, and they waited to the final question. I think of who's the boss is round 2. Correct.
They waited till after the fourth question.
The fourth question. Well, I don't understand the math there because if they waited to 27-11, even if Inky and the Brain got the steal, they would have had 13, right?
13, let's see, because they didn't have a choice, so they would have had 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16,
So they would
17.
have had to have gotten all 3 of them.
Yeah, they
in
would
order
have
to.
Yeah, so because it didn't happen on question number 4, then there's obviously no point in getting question 5 and 6 because they needed 2-point steals from there on out from questions 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, to mathematically eliminate them because they still would have been then they would have been tied 27 or not tied, but they would have been down 27-17 had they gotten 3 consecutive 2-point steals to end that round. Had Who's the Boss earned I think just 5 points right off the bat in the first 3 questions, then Inky and the Brain would have been knocked out in that fashion. So it was an interesting route in which this one went. You're right. It did confuse some people with the math. I was even trying to do it, as it was happening. I didn't pause the video or anything, but I was trying to all right, they need this many, or they got to do this because they can get steals here, and you got to kind of figure it all out a little bit. But I
feel like I needed a plain
Yeah.
see-through glass window and a Sharpie and start getting it popping to do all the equations and it was a little bit of an anticlimactic win because it's like, okay, we see what's happening here.
Yeah.
Can we just go to the judge's decision? Can we mercy rule it
And
again?
someone made a comment in the YouTube comment section, which don't always go there, but go there once in a while. I read this comment and I was like, that's actually pretty good analogy. They said that Who's the Boss had this big lead, but it seemed like they were just playing with their food here in the second round, like just get it over and done with. And some people will question, well, why wouldn't they go to multiple choice on 2 of those 4 questions? And I just think that they were going for the knockout kill. They had room to play with. They had plenty of room to play with, and I think there's a bit of some showmanship with it because they were certainly Ben was doing that throughout the match.
Yes. Riley too.
Well, yes, Riley too.
I got to say, this was the most cocky
Yeah.
is probably the best term I've seen Mark Riley ever. I don't know if the talk that, he didn't have it anymore got to him and motivated him.
Yeah.
Because Mark Riley came out and, for lack of a better expression, he grabbed his piece and he put it in your face.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was like, hey, I'm that dude. Remember at the end of the 2019 NBA season, regular season, and then we go into the playoffs, and Kevin Durant did that interview where he goes, I'm Kevin Durant. You know who I am.
Right.
This was Mark Riley's I'm Kevin Durant, you know who I am moment, right?
Right, and you look at his first round, perfect. It's the second time he's ever done or ever had a perfect first round in teams with the bonus. Ben had 7, so he continues his streak of playing really well from the singles tournament to this tournament. You look at Inky and the Brain, they both answer 5. Rachel and Devin, they both answer 5 apiece. Not a horrible showing, 16-10 after the first. But you're right about Riley. And here's the thing that I find interesting is they're kind of reverting back to how they were in Anarchy tournament. Ben, came into that as pretty much a heel, but he was gradually turning towards face. But they had with Dagnino as well getting thrown into the mix. So Riley was kind of surrounded by these guys who had some attitude, some, they would they would jab at their opponents. And that got them to win the tournament last year. And they came up just short against the Shire Wolves at Spectacular. It seems like they're kind of going back to that kind of mode again, as to say, this is our tournament mode. This is our tournament persona.
0 Dark 30.
Right. Mm-hmm. And they're all in it, and fantastic showing in that first round, because a lot of the times in team matches, there's 16, potentially 18 points up for grabs in the first round. And if you can maximize earning 90% of those points, and if the opponent is average or even above average, you put yourself up for put yourself in a position to win. That if you can do what they did, like the Odd Couple did, then you're going to have an easier time navigating second rounds. You can really get very strategic in terms of when you want to go multiple choice. Should we go multiple choice here, or wait, or what categories you're going to take, spending first or second. The whole second round then, just there's a litany of things you can do, and you're not so pigeonholed. You're not behind the 8 ball like these other teams were, where they needed 2 points on every single question, really. So if Who's the Boss plays like this, and there's things I think. Look, Riley didn't have a great showing against Stacey Howard, and it looked like he wasn't playing well. But there's things going on behind the scenes with Riley and Bateman that give Riley a boost of confidence, especially when he watches his teammate Ben Bateman just wreck shop in the tournament, singles tournament, right? And you have Dagnino, one of the greatest managers of all time, if not the greatest manager of all time, in your corner. It's going to give you a boost of motivation and a sense of confidence. And when you play the way that he's playing, you're going to get 8 or 9 points, 7, 8, 9 points out of Mark Riley in those first rounds. And we know what Ben's on another level this year, especially as of late this year. Put that all together, it's a recipe for success. And when you look at these two matches between Who's the Boss and the Odd Couple, it certainly seems like they're on a collision course for the final, and to kind of Who's the Boss rectify what happened in Chicago earlier this year.
I agree with everything that you said, but when we talk about the boost of confidence, and you talk about the showmanship of Who's the Boss, of course, Ben Bateman has always been known for being antagonistic to his opponents. Of course, Ben Bateman's always going to have the jabs. He's always going to talk his game, especially to Stewart this time around, where he was like, he didn't know the answer, so he's going to write a joke.
Right.
That kind of talk, it was funny, but it was definitely vintage Ben Bateman. It's vintage Ben Bateman. But in round 2, when they have them in their crosshairs, they know that a knockout is pending. They know that it's coming. They can smell it. And then they spin a strength of Stewart's, and that is Will Smith. And after some debate, they sit down and they say, we're going to stick with it.
Yeah.
I know that was supposed to be we're about to stretch our muscles on you real quick and show off a little bit and let you know that just because it's your strength doesn't mean it's not ours too, because everything is our strength. I thought it was an unnecessary move, and I thought that it wasn't the most calculated. I think that was a decision that was thought with the ego and not with the strategery, as the President of the United States, former President of the United States might say.
What I'll say about that is, I think taking Will Smith is completely predicated on the fact that Inky and the Brain got 1 point in movie release dates. In 6 questions, they got 1 point. Who's the Boss stole, was it 5.7 points? So if those sequence of events don't go that way, maybe they don't take Will Smith. However, Will Smith, it's not like Devon Stewart or Josh McCougar are the only people that know Will Smith. He's a pretty popular dude, right?
Slightly.
And sure, is it, if they were happen to miss, is it an opening for Devon Stewart to slide in there with some points? Potentially, yes. But that's the same thing for any other category they might have missed. Is it the probability a little bit higher because it's Will Smith for Devon? Sure. What am I saying? Devon? I'm saying, like,
I don't know.
I've said his name like 7 different types of ways.
I'm saying Stewart.
You're sticking with Stewart. I'm gonna stick with Stewart. So, again, it's predicated on how Inky and the Brain played in their second round category. The fact that Who's the Boss got 5 steals, I think it was, right? 5 steals out of 6 questions. I mean, come on.
It's pretty phenomenal. But 2 things to that point. To go back to a Little League thing, right? I used to do this thing where one of my teammates and best friends of all time, shout out to Emerson, we live next door to each other. So we go into my backyard and we do a little batting practice, right? And I would do this thing in batting practice with the wiffle balls, where I would hit the ball, and then when I knew I hit it hard and it was home run potential, I throw my bat, right? I'd throw it to the side. And then I started doing that to anything that I hit. I would boom, let go of the bat, let it fly, and, bask in my own glory.
Yeah.
Well, one time in a game, because I developed this bad habit of trying to be a BMF, to go back to that term, and throw my bat like I'm the man, I threw my bat after I hit the ball, and I ended up hitting my coach in the head with the aluminum bat. Now, to say I didn't get a talking to after that would be an understatement. I got chewed out. I got benched for the next game, and I wasn't allowed to play.
Well, yeah,
at
you just
all.
assaulted your coach.
Right. And then if I look at this in a major sport, go back to the UFC. Fight fans will know. Shout out to Aaron Turner. Anderson Silva was considered the greatest of all time. He was going up against a guy named Chris Weidman. Anderson Silva, had so many successes and victories. This man was feeling himself. He didn't take Weidman seriously. Weidman popped him in the chin one time during the fight, and Anderson made this face like, ooh, that didn't hurt at all. And then the next punch that came knocked Anderson Silva out. Right? I'm saying bad habits are hard to break. And I don't think that this is a smart strategy at this point in round number 1 for Who's the Boss to start bad habits of trying to show off. I think that it's great. I love their swagger.
Sure.
I love their capabilities. I think that it makes them who they are. But when you start taking Will Smith just to take a crap on the other team, you are taking a step in the wrong direction. And as you can see, they didn't know all the questions of Will Smith. What if Stewart got the steal on every single one of them? And now they're back in the game, and they put themselves in a position they didn't have to be in.
So here's the other thing with taking Will Smith. They did not go to multiple choice on those 2 questions they missed. They hit 2 for the full 2 points. They did not go multiple choice on the other 2 that they missed. That's a calculated move because, yes, that's Stewart's strength. So you don't want to dwindle down options for him. You want to make him definitely earn it, cold turkey style, if you will. Know it just without any help at all. If you go to multiple choice and they still miss, now he's 1 out of 3 chance for him, and if that's like a strength for him, he might be able to dwindle it down. Now they get a point, and then on the second question, maybe they get a second point, and now the knockout's out of range, right? So I think everything Who's the Boss did if you follow Ben Bateman, if you watch what he does, if you watch him on SEN on Thursday, listen to him talk about how he thinks about the game. There wasn't 1 second where they did something in that match where I don't think they talked about it beforehand. They didn't have a plan, or they didn't talk about it right before the round or what have you, right before the spin. Everything that they did is calculated. It's calculated to take Will Smith in that situation. Why? Because they only got 1 point. It's calculated not to go to multiple choice. Because why? If he's going to know it, then he should know it, but we're not going to help him along the way and give him 1 point if he can just miss and get nothing. So I think everything that they did was calculated, and you can point to the ego kind of thing, but I think they earned it at that point. They were demolishing them, and Inking the Brain were not playing great, so there's really no confidence in Inking the Brain getting questions right at that point. And if they were, it's going to be a little too late, and I like the way that they played this match. It was strategic, and I think when you put what you're preparing into practice, into play, this could serve for the next match and the next match or the next match, because you've implemented it once in a pretty much kind of like a safe zone, if you will. It was the safest place you could put what you're practicing into play and get away with it with some hiccups maybe, which they did. There were some hiccups there, right? By missing questions, but they still got out of there with a knockout. And I think it's one thing, again, to prepare for a situation and then to actually implement it in another situation. And I think maybe that could have been what was going on here.
And I'm not in disagreement. I'm not. But I'm just saying bad habits are hard to break. And don't make this a habit. Don't show me this again. Because when you're getting into the final rounds, when you're going to be facing potentially Loose Cannons or Crimson Fury,
right?
I don't need you taking it lightly.
I would be shocked to see this kind of play, this kind of demeanor in a second round tournament match, a semifinal or a final. I would be absolutely stunned, because you're not going to find those. You're not going to find Inking the Brains in the second match.
But I never thought that I would hit my coach in the head with a bat.
Sure.
All right. Now, one thing I want to ask about that Will Smith category before we move on. There was a question about a film that Will Smith produced.
Oh yeah.
I want you to answer me as if, is that a fair question? Are we getting into who produced what now? Have we had that before? Because I don't recall Leonardo DiCaprio produced this document. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember that.
That one.
Is that fair?
That one did strike me as odd. I guess it is. I don't know. I mean, it was a movie that was released in theaters, right? So,
but he produced it.
It's when we're talking about Will Smith. Yeah, I mean, it's a stretch. It's definitely a stretch. But
producers isn't a category on the wheel.
No.
Whenever you spin Spielberg, it doesn't say in this I mean, maybe it does, but in this Spielberg produced film. Because then we could be talking about Transformers in Spielberg, and I don't know if that's fair.
True. Yeah, I mean, when I heard that question, it definitely kind of caught me by surprise. Like, oh, wow, we're delving into that. Well, okay, but I mean, it is what it is. But I want to say something.
I was like, this is what we're doing?
Yeah, but I do want to say something about the breakup, quote-unquote breakup of Inking the Brain. Interesting that this would happen this way in this fashion, considering the draft is coming up. But also, some of the reasons cited by Rachel, I really perked up my ears, because I was like, I mean, I understand you're upset that you lost and that you haven't won. You're 1-3. But her saying that she carried the team, I was like, the eye test didn't really tell me that. So I went and looked at the numbers. And look, first of all, they both had 5 points in the first round.
Right.
No one was of any help to each other in that second round, where they only got one movie release date question right, and that was on a multiple choice.
Right.
Looking at, to see, because she said she was carrying the load for Inking the Brain, and I went and looked at their numbers, because that's what I do when teams break up. You got to look at their career run. And Rachel, with Inking the Brain, answered 19 out of 35 individual questions. That's 54% correct, earning 20 points individually for the team. You look at Devon Stewart's accuracy rate. He answered 18 out of 35 for an accuracy rate of 51%, earning 19 points for the team individually. So he answered one less question than Rachel, earned one less point than Rachel. I guess that means carrying the load for the team. But,
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where they land in the draft next year. Because when you look at their team performance individually, it's not that great. I think they would be great complements to upper echelon players out there, for sure. But neither one of them can be the best player on their team because that's just not going to get it done. And that's the truth. I'm sorry. I don't want to seem too harsh, but like if you want to win, they are a good complement. If you're an upper echelon player, you certainly want to team up with another upper echelon player. But given how the draft's going to work, who knows? But they would be good number twos on your team.
Well, it's like if you're watching the NBA right now, Dwight Howard's playing really good off the bench for the Lakers. Like, he's really playing really well. At one time, he was an all-star, sure, but I'm saying his skill level had dwindled down, especially after he left Houston. He bounced from team to team to team. But in the Lakers system and what they need him to do,
right,
he is perfect for them. He is killing it for the Lakers right now. And I think that is what either one of these players, Stewart or Silvestrini, can be. They can be a perfect complementary piece. I need you to come off the bench. I need you to give me 5 minutes. I need some blocks. I need some boards. If you can make a couple of dunks, that would be phenomenal. And then you can go back and sit down, Dwight. I appreciate your service. That's what I think that Devon and Rachel are, in my opinion. They are, like you said, complementary players. They're not going to be the all-star. They're not making the all-star team. But I still think that if they're on the draft board, you consider them. You definitely consider them. You say, she might be pretty good for the team. Or, hey, I really think that Stewart could be a quality addition. So I think that it's interesting that they broke up. I don't really have feelings about them breaking up because I was never super invested in them as a team. But I think that come draft, it'll be interesting to see where they go. Now, speaking of who's the boss advancing in the tournament, they're going to either face the Loose Cannons or Crimson Fury. Do you feel confident that Who's the Boss can advance into the semifinals, given their two prospective opponents?
Yeah, it's tough. I have more confidence that if they were to face Crimson Fury, they could take them out a little bit easier than Loose Cannons, if only because Loose Cannon has Paul Oyama, the reigning singles champ, right? And Eric Zipper. He's a solid...
The Z-Man.
He's the Z-Man Zipper. He's a solid singles player. He's a solid teammate. But, I mean, he has a tendency to be up and down at times, especially when he was playing with the World's Finest. In that one lone singles match he had against Haley Fouch, he only missed a couple questions at like 82% accuracy rate. It's something else I posted in the group earlier this week you can look at. So he has potential. He also played great in that Manager Bowl, which didn't really count for anything stat-wise, but he showed that he can play and he can hang with the likes of a Roca or a McWeeny, veterans, huge staples of the league, right? So he's a great complement to Paul Oyama. That's what Rachel and Devon Stewart are looking for. They're Paul Oyama, right? And Zipper's got that with Paul Oyama. Crimson Fury, Tim Franco, he's coming out from Arizona. Good player. I mean, he TKO'd Matt Ashby in his first match. He only missed one question. Was
Not bad.
One of the first to go perfect in the round of 8 for the questions. 8 questions in the first round. Also, great showing in the debut. I mean, he's also a big Bond guy, right? So you might put that on the wheel.
I'm coming for you, Franco.
Right.
I'm coming for you.
And then Stacey Howard, veteran of the game. She can take out some of the best this game's ever seen, like a Mark Ellis or Mark Riley. So there's a lot of potential with that.
Anybody
team.
named Mark.
This matchup is, and they're rookie teams, and they've only both played one match. Believe both have only played one match to this point. So, what is their dynamic like in a match? They've only had one match to kind of figure something out. Especially with the Tim Franco situation, since he's in Arizona, it's not like he can randomly show up and talk shop with Stacey Howard in person or whatever. This is going to be a pretty close match, I think, just because of the lack of inexperience in a team setting. Although Stacey is the more experienced team player, she had a run with 6 Degrees with Breanne Chandler.
Right.
So but Paul Yama's had a 6-0 run in singles. So there's a lot of different things you can look at to say, well, this one team might have an edge, they might have an edge. Well, this kind of brings them down, or that brings them down. It's going to be a very interesting match. But I would put my money on loose cannons just for the fact that they have the reigning champ, Paul Oyama.
I agree. I got loose cannons going on in my bracket. Okay, let's talk about this final match, though. The Scream Queens going up against Time Machine. Best name in the entire team tournament, Time Machine. Come on, man, that is awesome. Big time Ethan.
Is it because they used
Janine the Machine?
Is it because they used the theme? Is that why you like them? The Back to the Future theme. Is that why?
I mean, you're not going out on a limb there. But I've also, to keep it thorough and keep it consistent, I've also been a Janine the Machine fan this entire year. I've been championing her, and I think that this is a really good matchup for her. Team up rather. We both picked Time Machine last week to advance,
right?
But I gotta say, Scream Queens came to play. I thought this might. I do.
Okay.
I do.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, when you look at the first round action, it wasn't like Inky in the Brain. It wasn't like only stupid answers. I mean, what they end up scoring 21 points, 23
The final was 25-23. Yeah.
25-23. I mean, I would say that's a pretty respectable battle, wouldn't you?
Yes, that number 23 is respectable. Even though Time Machine didn't have to answer their final two, which combines 8 points, right? So, but if you're a team and you can't even hit 10 points in the first round combined, I look, and I've been pretty critical of Scream Queens.
I mean, they're no Mara Canopic in your world, but yeah, you've been pretty critical.
I have been, and it's just, and I like them individually as players and as people. And Haley, especially when she's stepping out of her comfort zone, playing live matches in New York, right? I think she's got a wealth of knowledge there, but she's just getting acclimated to the game still and everything that entails. I was a little disappointed in Haley's performance in the first round with 5 points. I think she's a 7-point player. I think that's in there. I think it's just a matter of time. Hopefully, this is like a building year for her going into next year. She can really capitalize on her experience this year. Kaylin Corrigan, she's up and down, and I mean, she can pull out some answers. I just like, whoa, okay. You do got some skill in this game. And there's other times where I'm like, it's tough to watch sometimes. She had 4 points. Haley had 5 here. Janine had 5, but Ethan Irwin had 9. So I guess maybe, all three of those players were on kind of like the same level. Ethan Irwin, he's on another level than like 90% of the league. So it doesn't really surprise me here. You pulled out some crazy answers, just ridiculous. But Scream Queens, look, this is the end of Scream Queens, and they talked about it in their post-match interview. It's, it is what it is. That's all I can really say about it.
I feel like you want to say more.
No, there's no point. There's no point. Why? It's over. It's over now.
Yikes.
But I will say this though.
I think this is what it's like to get broken up with Frank Janisch. This is how you do it.
This is it.
Look, it's over.
Look, it's
There's
over.
nothing more to say.
But let me say
get
though,
over
the
it.
way they navigated Matthew McConaughey, that category, I thought they played well there. They ended up with 7 points. And Time Machine didn't do as good, or not as. They did just a little bit better. They ended up with 9 points because they got 2 points off a steal. So they actually, per their own categories, they both or earned 7 points each. Time Machine tacks on 2 more points for the steal. So pretty even there. But the difference maker was Ethan Irwin in this match. And that makes sense given that he's a former champion. He's one of the highest accuracy rates of all time. And he put up a perfect round here in this match. And it was the difference. And he sealed the deal there with his 2-pointer in the final round. After, Scream Queens, they did fight. And that's what I liked about Scream Queens, is that they did fight. And they forced Time Machine to answer a final round question when it really looked like it could have been a TKO.
I think that Kaylin played better this time around.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that she hasn't been the strongest player, especially within their team. I think Haley is definitely the more dominant of the two. But I do agree with the round one totals, probably not what you want to see. However, I thought that, in my opinion, okay, wait, 23 points, that's not bad. And you're going up against an Ethan Irwin. So if they were going up against an Only Stupid Answers or an Inky in the Brain or a Self-Righteous Brothers or something to that effect,
Yeah.
maybe we see a more competitive match. And I thought that Scream Queens actually started to finally find their footing a little bit. I thought that they were okay. We're starting to get the swing of it. I don't know.
They rattled
if
off
they're
2 straight wins, and then they lost 3 straight after that. So
Yeah.
it's tough, and I think also the consistency. Speaking specifically with Kaylin, the consistency. It's just hard when you're not consistent in playing. I guess team match, if you're not playing singles, it's hard to, I think, get in a groove to come in cold and play a team match, especially in a tournament.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And I could be wrong, and it wouldn't be the first time in my life, and it sure as hell won't be the last, but she doesn't strike me as somebody who is like the Ben Bateman approach of, let me spend every waking moment thinking about this. It's like, look, man, she's kind of a remnant of the old school.
Oh,
of
yeah,
like,
sure.
This is what I know.
Yeah.
All right? And come hell or high water, I'm dying on that sword. So, into the Scream Queens. It is what it is, but a good win for Time Machine. Moving on to the next round, they're either going to face the Looney Bin or the Self-Righteous Brothers. I got Looney Bin in that match.
Yeah, I gotta have Looney Bin as well because.
Whoa. I don't like how you said that. I don't like how you said that. I know Video Drew. I mean, I know that you've had some comments
Relax.
in the past.
Relax.
But, whoa. Just slow your roll, Janisch.
Relax.
Just slow your roll. All right? You're a little bit hyper. And I know this is... Hey, we got a hyper on too. You know what I mean? Right now. But you need to relax. But continue. What were you going to say?
I'm cool, man. All right.
Sure? Anything you want to say?
I just want to say, I got Looney Bin.
Any shot
this
shooting?
Match. No, I just the only shot I'm shooting is that Looney Bin is going to win. That's it. I think Looney Bin's going to win, and again, it speaks to Tom in his first match. When I saw him, I was like, "Who is this dude?"
He's the guy who was in your top 8.
No, he wasn't in my top 8.
Oh, was it Tom from MySpace joke?
Got it. But okay, that's wow. I didn't realize. Wow, you are a little bit older, huh? Okay, you're not that young.
I had a MySpace.
You're not that young. I forget.
I had MySpace. Top 8.
But Tom, like in his first match, was great, and I think Video Drew is really good as well. She had a couple performances, so she's familiar with the Schmoedown and everything that's going on with it. She made it out to the New York Live event. So she's definitely, I think, invested more than people might think because she's not as visible in cutscenes or in matches as of late. But I think she's
actually invisible at times.
That's
Super
a great
powered.
skill to have. I kind of envy it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, but yeah, I just think I like Looney Bin. And then Self-Righteous Brothers, you have Mark Hoyk, who shows up when his name gets called. Whitney Seibelt's kind of the same way, especially now that he's no longer partnered with Bibbs. I don't know what the Schmoedown relationship is like for Whitney, so I think they're just kind of coming in off the street, playing, seeing what
Off the
happens.
street.
I mean, technically everyone comes off the street, so
It's true. Or out of the alley.
yeah.
Quite literally. I got Looney Bin too. I don't know if I love their chances against Time Machine, but I don't really know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Video Drew, Tom, I think that if that is the match that we get in the quarterfinals, I'm really going to really enjoy watching the outcome of that. I have Time Machine going into these semis.
I do too.
For sure, but I'm not sold on it. I'm not sold on it. Let's talk real quick. Family's Wildberries, Family Wildberries, you have Family, okay. Evil Geniuses, Paddington 2, you have
That's a tough one because I don't
I have
know
Evil
about
Geniuses.
I don't know about the Simon Thompson guy. Just because I know what I might get out of Matt Atchett and Alonzo Duralde and Paddington 2, I'm going to go with them just because
Yeah, I'm
Simon
changing my
Thompson
mind.
is a rookie coming into this. He's never played a Schmoedown match in his life, as far as I'm aware of.
right.
And he's going up against Lon Harris, who you like to say has the yips. So I'm going to go with Paddington 2 based on
You
all
just
that.
caught him again.
Yeah,
You know what? I think I'm changing my mind.
right. As soon as I brought up the
definitely has the
yips,
yips.
you forgot about the yips, and then I brought him up, and you're like, "That's right."
Because remember, I thought he got over the
You
yips,
did.
but he's got the yips
Then he
back.
lost.
He got the yips
Yeah.
back. He got the yips
got
back.
that.
So, okay, those are our predictions. What are y'all's predictions? Sound off in the comments below. I would really love to hear it. And what do you think of our debut edition on the SEN network, the Schmoedown Entertainment Network, as Frank Janisch says? We really appreciate you. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this video, comment, follow us on Twitter and social media. I'm at Brad Gilmore on all social media. He is at FrankieJ29. That's on your IG too, right?
Instagram and Twitter, yeah. That's right.
So if someone wants to slide into your DMs, FrankieJ29, just they're open for business.
especially sponsors. I don't know what for.
Is that what you're calling them now? Sponsors?
I would call them sponsors. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that has been the 6th edition of the Schmoedown Rundown. I am the boat Brad Gilmore. He is FrankieJ29, and we will see you next week on SEN.